Welcome back to More Than Gardening. It has been 2 days shy of 4 weeks since I started my onions here with you guys, and they're looking pretty good for being almost 4 weeks old. I think if I'm looking at them, it's hard to tell, but maybe this one or this one is my best tray, and I forgot to label them between red onions and yellow onions, but I'm almost positive these ones are the red ones because if you look really close, and I honestly don't even know, maybe this one, if you can see it on camera, it's kind of like pinky or red towards the root. So, and I've always just done better with red onions. I always just get better germination with them. The seedlings are always stronger. So I think this is my red onions because they look the best. One thing I want to point out, if you started onions around the same time as me and you're looking at yours and you've never grown onions before, you might start to see, or you should start to see, the seed leaf dying off. So the first leaf that grows out with the seed is called the seed leaf. And every plant has one. Most plants will have like 2 seed leaves that come out of the seed. Onions just have one, and it's like that tall blade of grass looking thing. And the seed is literally connected to it. And one of the first things onions do when they sprout is they send this leaf up, and then they start sending up the second leaf, which is the first true leaf. So on this one, if you can see it, this is the seed leaf, and then this is the first true leaf. And as that first true leaf starts growing, the seed leaf starts dying. So that's why a lot of these through here look like they have these like shriveled up like dead pieces coming off of them, because that's just the seed leaf dying, and it's totally normal. It's supposed to happen. I think a lot of people, when they start growing onions and they see kind of that leaf dying back, they get really worried that their plant's dying, that their lights are too hot or too close or something, because honestly, if you look at this tray, it looks kind of crazy with all of like the dead leaves dying. But that is completely normal, and that's not something I'm worrying about. So other than that, about 4 weeks out, I've got the seed leaves dying back. I've got some good height on some of these, maybe like, I don't know, 5 inches at the tallest, maybe some down here approaching like 6 inches. Not going to get my ruler out and be technical, but I do think they look really good. So right around now is the time when I start like upping my seedling care. Up to this point, so weeks like 0 to 4, I've just been bottom watering every 5 to 7 days. And now I'm at the point where I'm going to start trimming my onions and I'm going to start fertilizing a little bit. So I wanted to take you guys with me and show you my routine. I just use regular old kitchen scissors to trim my onions. You can use garden shears, you can use whatever you want. Just make sure they're clean first. And I'm literally just going to go in and give these onions a haircut. And I'm doing it for a couple reasons. One, I don't want them to get super tall and lengthy inside. It's not really the point right now. Like early on in their growth, right now as they're seedlings in my house, I really want them to focus on growing a strong root system. So if the plants are growing taller and taller and taller, they're putting energy into staying tall and staying healthy and growing bigger, where I want them to focus on their roots. So I'm going to keep cutting them. That way they're just diverting their energy to the roots. And also, I don't want these to get so tall that they start falling over and become tangled and a mess, and trimming them just keeps them nice and tidy. So it's really not that hard. It's pretty simple. I'm just going to go through here with my scissors, and I just go to about 3-4 inches, but I'm not measuring, so it's a little bit of an eyeball. So I'm just going to go through here and cut this, and then anything you're trimming off is edible. It's honestly like chives. You can just rinse these off, cut them up, and put them on your dinner or your lunch or whatever you're making. Or if you're like me, I'm probably just going to compost them. But I'm just going to keep going through and cutting them. So I've made a little bit of a mess just because I went through with the scissors and let all of these drop. So I'm probably going to come through and just pick these up to clean it off, but you kind of get the picture, you get the point. You just come through with scissors and trim the tops. And then this size is a really good sturdy size for these onions to be. Again, I'm not wanting them super tall and to tip over. I want them focusing on growing their roots nice and strong. And this is just a good height. And you can see it's a really good height under these lights. So it's also really convenient because now that they're this short, I don't have to be moving my shelves up and down or my lights up and down. They'll just stay in these spots pretty much until I plant them out in April, and I'll probably be trimming them every 2 to 3 weeks depending on how quickly they grow. My watering schedule is every like 5 to 7 days, and I'll just come through here and take one of the 6 cells out, and I'll look at the top of the soil, see if it's dry. Then I also like to take a peek at the slit on the side and the bottom, because sometimes the top of the soil can look dry and then it's actually not dry down below. Another sign that your onions are like really due for water is if they start kind of like flopping over and falling down, kind of the way like this one is doing right now. This one's, I think, falling because it was really tall, and it'll eventually straighten out now that it's shorter, but they all start really falling down, then they definitely need water. And now that they're almost 4 weeks old, I start fertilizing, and I find it easiest to just get a liquid fertilizer and mix it straight into the water. I have been using this one for the last couple of years now. It's Fox Farm Grow Bag. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description. Another one I really like is the Neptune's Harvest seaweed or fish and seaweed fertilizer, which I will leave a link to as well in the description. However, that one smells so terrible that if you are doing seedlings indoors like I am, I don't recommend that one at all because it's going to stink up your house. But if you're starting seeds like outside in a greenhouse, definitely use that one because it's really, really good. And for how much to use, I think this one says like a half a teaspoon per gallon once a week. This is 34 ounces. I've measured this, like when I first started using this, I measured it to find out how much I needed, but now I just eyeball and I just give it like a little bit. You don't want to do too much because you can burn your seedlings because they're so young. But as they get older and as they get bigger, you can increase them out. But I just do it super simple, guys. I just pull out one of these seed trays and I just pour the water with the fertilizer into here. And then I'll put this back and I'll let it soak it up. I will say, I just watered these a little bit the other day, so I don't know if they need, I don't want to like over water it right now, but I did want to show you guys in this video how I do it. But typically I will give each tray 1.5 of these. So this is kind of a weird way to measure, but one of these is 34 ounces or 1,000 milliliters. So I do 1.5, which would be 1,500 milliliters, or 34 plus half of that is 17, 51, I think. Is that 51 ounces, Dylan? I think. You could do the math. This is 34 ounces. I do 1.5 of these per tray. And that is just what my soil likes to use. If your soil is less dense than mine, if you don't have as much soil in there, like if your room is a little drier than mine or more humid than mine, there's a lot of like little variables that are going to dictate how much water you're going to want to give your onions and how often you're going to want to water them. But rule of thumb is just check out below the surface, take a peek at what that soil is looking like. If it's dry, they need water. If it's darker than the top and looks moist, they don't need water. And then I like to fill these trays about halfway, or the amount that I just said, 1.5 of these, and then I let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. If in 15 to 20 minutes I come back and the top of the soil is moist, because it should be at the end of the watering, because these cells are going to suck that water up, and there's still water in the tray, then I'll dump that water out. But best case scenario is you're going to water these, you're going to walk away, you're going to come back 15 to 20 minutes later, and the top of the soil is going to be nice and moist, and there's not going to be any water left in this bottom tray because your seedlings took it all up. And if you're wondering why can't I just water the tops of these, that you could do it, but you're really going to be inviting in a lot of like mold and fungus gnats and a bunch of stuff you just don't want. You really want to keep the surface of the soil nice and dry, because like I said, fungus gnats, like they will see the moist soil as a breeding ground, and you really don't want those. And mold will start to grow, fungus, algae, everything will start to grow. So just try to keep the top of the soil moist. Just water from the bottom. It'll be so much better for your onions. At this point, I also like to introduce a fan. So I have this big box fan right now that I'm gonna set on this table, and I'll start this and run these on them. Usually in past years, I've always had these little like clip-on fans that I would clip on to these poles, and they would rotate and give like a nice little gentle breeze to all my onions. I don't know what happened with them. They just randomly stopped working. So I need to go ahead and order a few more of those. I'll link whichever ones I get in the description of this video, but For now, I'm just gonna use my box fan because it does work. It's kind of annoying and a little overstimulating if you're in this room, but it does a good job. And the whole point of the fan, two things. One, it's going to help keep the surface of the soil dry. Like I just said, all those reasons you want to keep it dry. The fan is a big help in that. And then it also just helps with airflow. It lets everything circulate and it helps your onions get really, really strong. Right now, these sitting in my living room, they're in a controlled environment. Nothing's happening to them. But when they go outside in April, they're going to be facing wind, breeze, everything you could think of. They need to be like toughened up more in here. So the fan just blowing on them makes them grow nice and strong. That way when they go outside, they're not like shocked by all the pressure that nature is going to give them. So I am not going to turn this on right now because it's really loud. I'll clip something in so you guys can see how they're blowing. But this will run, I try to run the fan not the entire day, but most of the day just to stimulate like a little bit of that wind that they would see outside. But other than that, that's kind of all I do to maintain these onions. These will be planted out middle of April, about 4 weeks before my last frost. Again, if you missed my last video when I started these were started on January 10th. So they live inside from January to April. My maintenance the entire time is literally what I just showed you. I trim them every couple of weeks to keep them at this nice 3 to 4 inches high. I fertilize pretty much every week. I water every 5 to 7 days. Pretty much fertilize every time I water. So every 5 to 7 days, I throw a little bit of fertilizer in that water with them, and I run my fan on them to keep them nice and strong. But other than that, they're pretty low maintenance seedling. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I hope this video helped you if you're growing onions this year alongside with me. I'm super happy with how these look right now. So if yours are looking similar, I think you're in a good spot. And if they don't quite look like this, that is honestly fine too. I'm sure they're still gonna do great, but if you have any specific questions on the onions, you can drop them in the comments. If you wanna see more day-to-day updates on these, make sure to follow me over on Instagram at More Than Gardening, TikTok at More Than Gardening _, and I'm also on Facebook if you haven't found me there yet. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'll link everything you see here in the description of this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.